Formulas for finding length of sides of right triangles. From the three formulas that are used with scientific calculators, one can isolate the length of the hypotenuse, length of side opposite, and the length of side adjacent. An easy way to remember this is to memorize this Indian name of SOHCAHTOA. And what this means is, right over here, you can get it from over here. So means sine equals side opposite divided by hypotenuse. And here's the abbreviation for SO, S-O-H. Sine equals opposite divided by hypotenuse. And CA means cosine equals side adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And CA is abbreviated. Here's a C-A-H. Cosine equals adjacent divided by hypotenuse. And TOA equals tangent equals side opposite divided by side adjacent. And here's the TOA, T-O-A, tangent equals opposite divided by adjacent. With these three formulas, by using algebraic skills, you can find the necessary formulas to find the unknown sides. And it's these three right here. SOHCAHTOA. Now let's go over here and just do SOHCAHTOA here. We'll just do this one first. And that's sine equals opposite divided by the hypotenuse. Now we want to isolate, we want to get this formula over here. Opposite equals hypotenuse times sine. So we want to find opposite. So now, using algebraic skills, we'll cross multiply. And so opposite equals hypotenuse times sine. And just by cross multiplying, we have the same formula here. Opposite equals hypotenuse times sine. Now we want to isolate the hypotenuse. Again, using algebraic skills, we want to isolate the hypotenuse, divide each side by sine, and this eliminates the sine on the right side here. So hypotenuse now equals opposite divided by sine. And that's what we have here. Hypotenuse equals opposite divided by sine. And so you just have to know this formula, SOHCAHTOA, this, and then use algebraic skills, and you can find all the formulas that you need to solve unknown sides. Just look here in this chart, and notice here, the length of hypotenuse, and this breaks it down. It's side opposite divided by sine, and here's the same thing. And we can go over here and find it over here. Hypotenuse equals, that's what over here, opposite divided by sine. And also you can use side adjacent divided by cosine. It's another formula. For length of side opposite, it's hypotenuse times sine, or side adjacent times tangent. And length of side adjacent is hypotenuse times cosine, or side opposite divided by tangent. And this is just a handy chart instead of going through all this here. So all we have to do is memorize SOHCAHTOA, and then we don't have to memorize all these various formulas to find solutions. Let's look at this problem I have on the board. And there's a fundamental law. Whenever one side and one angle of a right triangle are known, then the length of any of the other two sides can be determined. And so these we have a known angle. Then we can find out the length of the hypotenuse and the length of the side opposite. And we're going to use this formula, SOHCAHTOA. Now we could use this, but I want you to get familiar with this so you don't have to memorize all these various formulas. And using algebraic skills. First of all, let's label this triangle. It's a right triangle. This is the hypotenuse. It's the longest side of the triangle. Now the known angle is A, and this is adjacent to the angle. So this is ADJ, the adjacent, and that's opposite of the angle. So this is opposite. So now we want to find, let's find first of all A, the opposite. So we want to find opposite. We're going to have to look at two formulas here, either SO or TOA. We cannot use this one because it doesn't have the opposite in there. And so we have the adjacent, so this is the only formula that has opposite and adjacent. So tangent of 30 degrees equals opposite, that's the unknown, divided by adjacent, which is 2.5. And then we just do cross multiplication here. And so we do that. Opposite equals tangent 30 degrees times 2.5. Now, we're going to do this in the next lesson, but I just want to show you how to find the proper formula to find the unknown sides. Now, let's find the hypotenuse. All right, now, we have adjacent and an angle. So now let's look at that. So we have two formulas here. This is opposite and hypotenuse, so we don't know the opposite right now. We could find it over here, but we don't right now. So we have to use cosine of 30 degrees equals adjacent, which is 2.5, divided by the hypotenuse. Let's just cross multiply. 2.5 equals cosine of 30 degrees times hypotenuse. Let's divide each side by cosine of 30 degrees. That eliminates this here. Cosine of 30 degrees. And so hypotenuse equals 2.5 divided by cosine of 30 degrees. And so with these formulas, we can determine unknown sides. I want you also to notice the logic of this. This is tangent 30. This is a fixed dimension here. When this is 30 degrees and this is 2.5, this can only be one size. This never varies. When we're going to get into the calculator later on, you're going to find that that number is a fixed number. Tangent 30 is always a certain number. And what's going to change this is this here length of this side adjacent. I don't care if it's a mile long or as small as you can make it. This 30 is always the same. And that's the ratio. That's how trigonometry works. It works off a ratio. And so since this is 2.5 and this is 30 degrees, we have a fixed side over here. And in the next page, we'll show you how to use the calculator and get the proper answer.